Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Michael Wilson. Too often when we look at people who are homeless, we look at them and blame them for their position in society. We fail to look at other organizations or groups that may be causing and contributing to the homeless situation. One of the primary causes we found in the last few years is government zoning. There have been a number of papers that have been published that criticize and condemn the policies of local governments nationwide. People such as economist Paul Krugman has talked about this. Jason Furman, who's the chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, delivered a paper at the Urban Institute titled Barriers to Shared Growth. The Brookings Institute published a paper titled How Land Use Regulations Are Zoning Out Low-Income Families. Stephen Raphael of the University of California at Berkeley published a paper on the issue for a conference titled How to Home the Homeless. And Raphael writes, and I quote, "The data reveals a striking positive relationship between the degree of homelessness across states and the stringency of local housing market regulations." The Sightline Institute in Seattle has published quite a bit on it. Author Dan Bertolet wrote that tight housing regulations radically inflate housing cost. Housing restrictions segregate neighborhood by class. Tight housing regulations kill opportunity. Restrictive zoning keeps good schools out of the reach of those who need them the most. Housing supply restrictions price people out of their neighborhoods. Exclusionary zoning increases homelessness. Exclusionary regulations on housing widens income inequality. In addition, there are a couple of other issues that I've come across. Increased zoning increases the cost of transportation and adds to urban pollution. It adds to the upfront cost and makes it difficult for local builders to go into home building business, thus shifting the business to larger builders who are often out of town. And this contradicts the idea of buying locally. It means more overhead for businesses and less wages for people. I urge you to take a hard look at the zoning laws and regulations, and perhaps we ought to start over and just repeal the ones that we have on the books and open the market for the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've talked ongoing about looking at inclusionary zoning policies.
Inclusionary zoning policies.
But where does that body of work lie for the City Council right now? Because I don't think it exists.
I think we need a referral to land use. You and I have been talking about inclusionary zoning policies for probably a couple of years now, and I wanted to thank, I've got so many lists here of who was speaking. The gentleman that spoke, Mike Wilson, is he still here? I loved that you gave us basically a literature review of zoning laws, and several of those articles I've actually read, the Paul Krugman article especially. We do need to look at ways of making it easier for developers to build housing that's affordable.